Hi everyone, this is Marcy Lamberson. I'm here today to show you how to make a pine cone bead. I have always liked them. We have them all over our yard, which I'm constantly picking up. But man, they're kind of cool looking, and I've got an easy way to make them. Right now, I'm getting a medium-sized gather on my ivory rod, and what I'm going to do is case it in a dark transparent, and this one is called dark brown. You can use a dark root beer, you can use another color other than ivory underneath it. You just want it to turn out slightly variegated with a lot of brown. So here we go. We are casing this. I just rolled it into a cylinder on my marver, and I'm heating this up, this dark brown. Looks like its number is 088. It's Effitre. And I am just heating up my transparent glass and swiping it down my barrel. If you want to add more variegation, you could add other browns underneath it, or a little bit of black. That would be cool. Something else. I'll show you. We'll just add another color underneath so you can see what it looks like. Yeah. This one isn't melting well. Okay, so I'm just adding a swipe of a darker color. And when we pull it out, when we pull out the cane, it will just add a touch more variegation to it. So it takes a minute to do this, as you know, and I want a rather thick layer of this. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be the same amount all over. Uneven, I think, is actually better. If you get the dark ivory too warm, it's just going to mush all over the place on you when you're trying to put your dark brown transparent on it, because dark brown, of course, is a lot stiffer glass. So you want to keep your dark ivory on the cooler side. So that's why I kind of keep it out of the flame a lot. And then I swipe down my transparent, make sure that I keep this part warm. And don't forget, as dark as it looks, you're going to be pulling it out, and there's a lot of light color under there. So you need plenty of dark brown on the top of it. You could use amber. That would give you a very, very light colored pine cone. I kind of like my pine cones on the darker side. So we're going to swipe down, continue. And I'm going to see what areas I missed. Of course, I need to get some on the top here. Doesn't have to be perfect. One of my favorite things. Okay, and then I'm going to add extra just to one place so we can see whether there's any difference. Oftentimes, you can't see a whole lot of difference, but to me, any variegation's good. Just makes it look a little more natural. Earth style. So I'm going to heat this all up, and then I'm going to be pulling it with my brown transparent rod. So let's heat it up, and we're going to attach this to the end. But first I'm going to make a small Maria on the end, which will widen the base of this. So to make a Maria, all I do is heat up the end, and then I press down flat. And it looks kind of like a nail head almost, but it gives you a wider section to pull with, and it can make your cane just a little bit wider also, because it's pulling from a wider spot. So I just press in and pull out slightly. Now I'm going to go back to heating everything. And I don't need this to be totally soupy. I just need it hot enough to pull, and with ivory as a base, it makes it pretty easy to pull. So I'm gently pulling and pulling. You see how much it's lightened already? Can you see that? I'm going to heat up the end here. Although I have enough, might as well finish pulling it out, and it will be because it's a different temperature, it's going to pull out a little bit different thickness. So we're just going to keep pulling. And I'll use that for something else. This makes good fur, it makes good lots of things. So we're gonna stop here. And I'm flame cutting it, as you can see, and laying down that rod because I don't need that anymore. And I will take my little pliers and just with the coolness, it cuts there and we'll cut off of here. See how that works? You can see the ivory underneath it and then the brown. So even when I place it, it's going to smush out a little bit differently. Now it's good to take off the end of something that's uneven like this, and I can just cut it with my nippers like this. And now that rod's good to use again, which is good because I'm going to use it for the base. I'm going to cut back on my flame. See, adjustment is good. And I'm going to heat up my dark transparent, and I'm going to make like a cone shape because that's kind of the shape of the pine cones. So I'm heating up my mandrel. I use Dip and Go Blue Sludge, which I love, love, love. And I'm a lefty, you can probably tell, and laying down my glass evenly. When you apply your glass to your mandrel, you want it to be perpendicular to the mandrel because then your glass goes on evenly. And I work right to left as a lefty. I'm keeping it this kind of cone-ish shape. We're making a small one. Rather on the slim side because we're going to be adding to it. It's not even a cone yet, but I'm going to heat it up, give it a quick marver, heat it up a little bit more. I'll use my Cote Marver, which I love. This is just the base that we're using. So you've got kind of a basic shape of where that's going to go. And I'm hoping that, yeah, I should have thought of that. I'm hoping that my cane is cool enough. I probably should have made another one. Let's see. Oh, that's pretty toasty. I'll do a few with the smaller cane first. You can see it's darker in one place and lighter with another. You can tell where I've added stripes and a little bit more of the original glass. This is going to come out on the lighter side. So what I do is, let me just show you this tool first. This is a concave convex plier. It's used in jewelry making. But see what happens is when you put glass inside of the concave part and push with the convex, it gives you a rounded, almost like ruffle look. Kind of similar to the pine cone little pieces that are slightly round also. So with this, I start at the top, which is up here, and I'm going to make a couple of dots. And I'm just going to go around the edge, and it's going to be at the very top. So dot. And I'm watching to see the color and the temperature of the glass. Another little dot. Nothing needs to be too warm. If you make it too warm, they'll soak in. They do not need to be next to each other. Up close, leave a little space in between. This one fit 3 pretty easily. And keep the rest of my bead warm so it doesn't crack, because that would be not good. And I want the curve to go this way into it. So I want this rounded concave part to go overhand. So I'm heating up just the dot, and I'm taking it, squishing it, and pulling it forward. See how that gives it just a little bit there? There we go. And we are on our way to making pine cones. So I'm going to make sure those stay warm, and then I'm going to warm up the rest of the bead. And you know what? I'm sorry, folks. This is going to bore you a little bit, but this is what we're going to do for the rest of the pine cone. The dots can get a little bit bigger, and you want them in between where the others are. We're just making a row around there. We're going to do the same thing beforehand. Heat up everything else. Heat the dot. Pinch, squish, and pull up. Well, pretty soon it's going to start looking like the beginning of a pine cone. Now, as you look at this, you can see not only is it going to make a pine cone, But this technique is great also for things like flower centers and all kinds of stuff. We're going to, because it's getting wider here, we're going to add more dots. They aren't going to be exactly in the center anymore, but we want them to be large to kind of overlap and take up the negative space that's below them. Now that's partly why I did a very dark base, because it's negative space on this pine cone. I want it to kind of disappear and let the little pieces that stand out be the star. So if in doubt, make your dots a tiny bit larger. Keep everything warm. Here we go again. I'm going to heat up the parts that we've already done just slightly. You saw how I just kind of ran them through. Now I start at the top instead of the bottom because that's the way I want them to overlap. Otherwise they would overlap in the opposite direction from the base and look like a reverse pine cone. And if you're into making little animals and things like this could be used for hedgehogs too, I would imagine. Heating up some more, and I see a good space there, so I want to be sure to fill that. And I want to be sure to fill this space, so I'm going to put a dot there. I want to fill this space, and now I'm going to fill in besides that. That's a little small. Add another dot here. I know it's not as equal anymore, but I just want to be sure to cover the spaces that have a good chunk out of them. Warm up the base, warm up what we've done, heat each dot. If you heat too much of what you've done, it will shrink back and you'll have to re-squish and it's hard to get. So you want to keep it warm, but not too hot. If you want your pine cone to be darker than mine, you can add more brown. One of my favorite things to do is to make these out of silver glass. They can be so pretty because you're not only smushing the glass, but because it's got different angles and stuff, if it is striking glass, you get all those colors with it too, which is so pretty. And that's my current favorite way of making it, with a big old piece of double helix. I still use effitre for the base because I don't care. I want it black and it's not really showing a lot. But for the parts that stick out, the dots that I make, I use double helix for that. Looks like I missed a dot there. We better go back and get that one before it's too late. So let's get that one. How'd I miss? I think I was talking too much. Here we go. Okay, now let's warm everything up because we're in between. I think we have another dot to go before we can do that circle. Right there. Boom. Okay, so heat up, squish and pull up. A little tedious, but it's worth it. I use 1/16 so that the top hole isn't too wide. I like 1/16 a lot, but you tend to kind of go through them quickly. So just kind of know that they're not going to last forever. I tend to cut off the ends when I've overdone it and I've had a problem with them, i.e. bending them too much. And you can do that too. I use fence post cutters that I got from Home Depot, and you're welcome to message me if you need information as to where to get them, because they aren't available through Home Depot anymore. So now I ran out of the other cane. This matches, hopefully. Came from the same piece, but sometimes different pulls look a little bit differently. These are a little bigger, which is okay. You want them to be long enough too, because you need to squish them and then stretch them. When I'm squishing them, I'm also pulling them as I'm pulling them up. So make sure your dots stick up a bit. Okay, heat up the rest. Heat up your dot. Squish, pull up. I think these make really cute little earrings. And I also make tree branches and then hang these from the tree branches. And the tree branches work as a jewelry veil, which I think is rather cute. Of course I think it's cute. I designed it, huh? So, as long as I'm here, might as well say you can find me on Instagram under Marcy Lamberson. I also instruct. I'm a glass sculptural teacher in what we call 104, and that means that it's a softer glass that I use. This is the same type of glass as you would see when you see glass from Venice or Murano. That's the type of glass that I use. And it's just nice and gooey when it's hot. It kind of feels like honey in a way. Not technically to touch it, but just as I'm pulling it, the viscosity. Okay, so there's another line. Looks like I could have added one more there. We'll add that up in a minute. If something melts in a bit, squish it again and pull it up again. Now when you're adding these, don't forget that they don't have to be super hot when you're doing it. You've got ivory underneath, which is very soft of this type of glass. So you don't need a super amount of heat there. See how long that dot is there? I'll do another one next to it. If you study pine cones, you'll see that they're much more organized in their design than what this is. And I imagine if you are far more left-brained than I am, you can figure out how to do that. But for me, I want to kind of like show what it is without it being exactly like something. And this method works just great for my aesthetic. We're getting close to the base, but not quite there yet. So let's keep everything warm, but not hot. See just the little bit of glow that I get? That's all you need. Okay, so each one. If you don't have a concave, convex masher like this, although you can get them Rio Grande, a lot of jewelry places, they only run like about 15 bucks. And these work for petals and animal ears and ruffles and all kinds of things. If you don't have that, you can use a little pair of tweezers, some pliers. You won't get quite the rounded part, but you get generally the same type of thing. So for the very end, I want to be sure that I get around near the mandrel. So you see the direction that I'm holding this? I'm holding it up so that I can see just where I'm adding these last dots. We're almost there, folks. Oh, it feels so good. Oh, you can also find me on Facebook under Marcy Lamberson for my personal page, and I show a lot of beads there. Or my business page is under Studio Marcy, Marcy Lamberson, and that's very easy just to kind of keep an eye out. I have a shop in Etsy that I don't use a lot called Studio Marcy, and most of my sales go through Facebook, or you can message me if you see something on Instagram that you like, if you're interested. So, boom. I am pushing in slightly on these, push towards the mandrel and then up to make sure that I get it close to the mandrel. So I squish, pushing in and then pulling up. I'll just finish with the last ones. I'm watching the color as I do this of each of the dots to make sure that they're the right color. And there you have it. Here's a little mushroom. See the color variegation that we got because we did the canes? And it's ready for the kiln. I'm Marcy Lamberson. Please subscribe. Join me on Instagram. Follow me there. Facebook. Yeah, just wherever. I'm on Twitter, but I don't use that a lot. And there you go. Thanks. See you soon. Bye.